and welcome back to Without a Doubt, the podcast. I'm your host, Mad, a cycle breaker, entrepreneur, and a sprinkle of reality. This podcast is a place where we celebrate living life authentically and organically as ourselves. We're the ones breaking cycles, making waves, and living out the truest versions of who we are meant to be. I'm really excited to have my friend Lindsay, who's with us today. Lindsay is actually my old Orange Theory client, but we have become pretty close friends. She has a master's degree in what, Lindsay?
Social work.
Social work. And she is polyamorous and has a TikTok page. She shares polyamory, and we're going to be talking on this episode about all things polyamory. Well, not we're talking. Lindsay's going to be talking because I think this is an episode a lot of people are going to be pretty interested in, right? What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's a hot topic and it's kind of a little bit taboo still in society. So
I think this
I do
is,
think it's getting more mainstream.
yeah, but I also think this is a great episode for this podcast because my podcast is for cycle breakers, it's for non-traditionals, it's for authentic living, and it's for people who want to live their life their way. And I do think that living a polyamorous lifestyle the way you do is very non-traditional,
Extremely.
and it's, very authentic to you. So let's get a little intro. Tell us who you are and give us all the deets.
Okay. My name is Lindsay. I'm 29. I am bisexual and polyamorous, and I've known that I was polyamorous since I was about 17 years old. I'm currently partnered with Michelle, my girlfriend. We've been together for 3 years. I'm dating someone new, Carlos. We've been dating a couple of months. And then my girlfriend, Michelle, has a boyfriend, Hunter, and they've been dating for over a year. And I live with Michelle and Hunter. We all live together in the same house. So that's kind of how dynamic is set up right now.
Okay, so let's go with the very first question that everyone's going to want to know. You guys all live together in the same house. Like, do they share a room? Do you share a room? And
yeah, so actually,
is her boyfriend also your boyfriend?
Oh yeah, good question. Okay, so I guess I'll answer the second question first. Her boyfriend is not my boyfriend. We have no romantic or sexual relationship. We're in a poly V, and Michelle is the hinge, right? So Michelle is dating Hunter, and Michelle is dating me, and me and Hunter do not interact romantically or sexually. In terms of our living situation, we live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and so we each have our own bedrooms. It was intentionally set up this way. I think it's really important for me, for our dynamic, that everybody has their own space and their own privacy. So, and it can be different, like for other people in different dynamics. We do sleep, like Michelle will sleep with me, and Michelle will also sleep with Hunter, like on different nights. So she'll kind of like rotate herself, which is nice because it allows all of us the opportunity to sleep alone and like have time for solitude, reflection, personal space, but also get that connective time every week by getting to sleep with your partner. So that's how we have it set up in our household.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. So you talked about that V, the hinge, right? Is that just like one
Yeah.
style of polyamory, or is that basically like what polyamory is essentially when people are thinking polyamory? Because a lot of people do get confused with polyamory, the sister wife thing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
Yeah.
give us a good definition of what is polyamory.
I'll just break it down like in its most simplest forms, like poly, multiple, amory, love. So polyamory literally means multiple loves. The beautiful thing about polyamory, the thing that also makes it maybe confusing to someone that doesn't practice it, is that it can literally look so many different ways. There are so many different styles of being in relationship. It's kind of one of those like write your own playbook type of deals, design the life that you love. The hinge dynamic is like a common dynamic, you'll also see like a triad. So like it'll be connected into like a little triangle, right? Like everybody's dating everybody. That's another dynamic. There could be like hierarchical dynamics. So you have like a primary partner, and then your secondary partners are lower on the hierarchy, but still important to you. You could have one where a relationship dynamic where there's no hierarchy. You can have open relationships. So like, let's say if I was just with Michelle and we didn't want to be polyamorous, we could date other people casually or for sexual purposes, but like emotionally we're monogamous. So like it really can take on so many different forms, but polyamory specific is a little bit different than open because there are usually romantic feelings involved along with the sexual components.
So like each dynamic has different rules that each like couple, throuple, polyamorous, little connect, whatever your rules, everyone has different like sets of rules essentially.
Kind of. I would like to even reframe that though from like rules to like agreements because I
Okay.
don't like to practice rules in my dynamic. Yeah. I'm a big proponent for people having freedom above anything else. I don't like to impose rules. So I'll set boundaries
Okay.
or we'll come to agreements. But like in terms of rules, I don't really like that. I feel like it can be kind of controlling, and that's like the last thing I'm trying to do in my particular dynamic.
Right.
Yeah, but everyone is different. Like each relationship, you design what you want it to look like. You're going to talk about what's acceptable for you, what is comfortable for you, and what's not. And I think that's like natural. Even in monogamy, you see couples do that. It's
Yeah.
just in polyamory, it's like there's more things to talk about that are acceptable or not. It's a little bit more gray area as opposed to like black white.
Okay. That definitely makes sense. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused, right? And they think, oh, you like initially Lindsay and I, we go to coffee like every few weeks. We're
Yeah,
trying to do it more weekly, more closer in
yeah,
time
I
frame.
agree.
Life really gets the best of us. But when we go to coffee, we're always talking about like all the different things in this realm of polyamory because I think it's very fascinating. And I told you I watched that show, Couples Therapy, and there was a
Mm.
polyamorous couple on there. And we were talking about how they were calling each other primaries or anchor partners. And I'm like, there's so many like gray, like to me, you're right. They're not really rules. And they were talking about the same. They weren't rules. They were just like, did they have more so like permission, an understanding, what feels right to each couple because they're kind of
Hmm.
similar to you. Like they don't date
Hmm.
each other. They just have one partner that's kind of the same, but they are a hinge.
Yeah.
And there's so many gray areas when you're watching this show about like just not just about like sexual things or other partners, but feelings.
Mm.
And I'm like, I think most people be like, oh, I couldn't do that because I'm a jealous person or I can't share. So do you hear that often? Like, I'm a jealous person. So I could never be in a multi-love partnership.
Yeah. I just think that's this is like a hot take. It's a little bit different.
It is a
And
hot take.
maybe a little bit offensive though, what I'm about to say. I'm
Do
not sure, but I'm just
It
going to
can be
say it
offensive
anyways.
because you're girl, this is what you live. So if it is
I
offensive,
know.
then
Just the people that say that though, that they couldn't, like, I'm so jealous I could never. It's almost when they say it, like they're very proud of that. And I always wonder, like, why is jealousy an attribute in which we cling on to so tightly when it doesn't serve like a positive purpose? You never feel good being jealous. So
never.
why do you cling to it so tightly? Why would you allow that to be a barrier? Why do you not just work on your jealousy? Why do you not just like do the hard work and like overcome it? It might be more painful in the immediacy because it is really hard work. But I think in the long run, if you can kind of become a less jealous person, like that just shows that you have more self-confidence, you have more trust, you have really done the hard inner work and you're very comfortable with you're comfortable with your dynamic. I just never understood why people wear like I'm so jealous as like a badge of honor or like
Yeah.
something to be proud of.
Girl, I think it's one of the uglier traits in life. I don't get it either. But I feel like that is
It
one thing.
is.
I feel like that is one thing that I have heard when people talk about it, like, oh, I'm a very jealous person. I could never share.
Mhm. And the other flip side of that is like share. What are you sharing? Like a human being? Do you own this person? Like jealousy plays very much into possessiveness. Like you don't possess anybody in this world. You don't. I'm sorry, you don't. Like you only own yourself. Like you only have control over yourself.
That's
So
true.
like when you say I'm so jealous, I don't want to share what's mine, but like it's another human being. It's not really yours to begin with. It's just a very possessive thing, I think. I don't know, jealousy, it bleeds into possessiveness, it bleeds in insecurity, like it's just this like chaotic, jumbled mess that I think people would do so well to unpack for themselves and like find the root of what's making them feel jealous and then be able to verbalize that to their partner and communicate what their needs are. And I think people that practice monogamy could really learn a thing or two from polyamorous people in terms of communication, especially around insecurities and jealousy. Because as a poly person, like you literally have no choice but to communicate. Like you have to communicate and you do it all the time. Like how else could you have a dynamic like this if you didn't communicate well or effectively or even frequently? And I think like we just when we are sometimes in monogamous relationships, like you're just so like comfortable with your person and your triggers aren't always being pressed. So you don't have to like work on the things that are like bothering you.
That's
Right?
very
Like when you're in a
true.
dynamic like I am, jealousy is gonna come up a lot more frequently than it would be if I was just monogamous with somebody else. So you almost have to look at it and work on it.
Yeah, that's very true. You're right. And honestly, this, I was talking to Kendra about this. On your TikTok page, you have a video that you are like recording Michelle, and she's like in the kitchen, and you're like, "Can I ask you a question?" And you're like, "Do you ever feel like jealous or like you're like, do you ever get upset?" Like, and she's like, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want you to have fun when you're out, but like, of course, my worry some comes out. Like, her little feelings are there." And like I think like that video, like when I was like, wow, that was such a genuine, authentic feel of a video because she's like, I love when you like, I want you to be yourself and I want to help you get dressed up and I want you to be you and I want you to have a good time. And but I also like I want to know, like the
Mm-hmm.
little curiosity within is still
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Mm-hmm.
that does stir up sometimes what people hate to say, like the little bit of jealousy maybe you don't want to talk about. Or
Yeah.
it's interesting. That's very it's your that video was I love that video by the way, Lindsay. And I just
Yeah, it's
thought
a
like
good one. So does all of TikTok. It's the video with the most views on my page. It's
it was just really cute. And
yeah,
I
it's
think
just
it really does show like a true authentic side of your relationship of like being with someone and really loving that person. But your person is out and exploring and loving who they are by giving their love to other people if they want to. I just think it was
hmm
a great video. I just thought,
yeah.
you know.
No, it is actually something to touch on, which is like kind of the opposite of jealousy, which there's a term in the polyamorous community that is unique to the polyamorous community. Like it was created within the community. And it's called compersion. Um, and compersion is the feeling of happiness that you get when your partner is experiencing happiness with someone else. So it's a quite literally like the opposite of jealousy. So like what that looks like would be in my relationship when Michelle started dating Hunter and like they decided they wanted to make it official and like use the label boyfriend girlfriend. Like I instead of feeling like threatened and like I do still, I'm a human being, I still am going to feel these feelings, right? I feel them a little bit, probably to a lesser degree than other people, but I felt like a little bit. But the overwhelming feeling was like so much happiness because like I can see when she's telling me that like she has feelings for him, like I can see like the glimmer in her eyes and like the way that she smiles and like the radiant energy, like and like the love between the both of them, and it's like so beautiful. And like how could I not be happy for her? Like all I want is her happiness. So like if she met somebody else that's like bringing her happiness, like it doesn't take away from what her and I have. It doesn't mean I don't make her happy. It doesn't mean she doesn't love me. It just means that she has more space in her heart for more happiness. And so I feel like happy as a default because she's so happy and I want my partner to be happy. And I think this is like very unique to the polyamorous community and like hard to like wrap your head around if you're a monogamous person. But it is like the anti-jealousy. It's like the other end of the spectrum. And like
Yeah, but you say,
Madison, if
wait,
you could
you
feel that way,
say,
if everybody could feel that way, like why wouldn't we?
but you say it's hard for people in the monogamous community to understand that. No, it's not. It is not hard.
You don't
That
think?
word can't only live in the like watching someone else just be happy. There's a word for that. Is that what's the word?
Mm.
So like if you are with your partner, like I'm in a monogamous relationship, me and Kendra are out dating other people, right? And I see her happy she's doing something she loves.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever she's fucking build. Let's say this is my partner. Let's get real in my relationship. My partner, she likes to build things. When Kendra
Right.
builds things and she fixes things, girl is like on cloud 5,000, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And she's so happy. And like that makes me so happy because like
Mm-hmm.
she feels so gratified from that. And I think
Right.
like that's the same feeling that you're feeling like when your partner finds someone they also are happy to be with.
Yeah.
Like when your partner maybe when your partner finds a new friend, even like in monogamy that
Mm-hmm.
happens. Like I make
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
like me and you, Lindsay, we did not really become friends and coffee chat friends until maybe the last year and a half, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Although we've been chatting on Instagram for a long time. We talked
Yeah.
in coaching in classes during coaching, whatever. I definitely think like when I come home, Kendra's like happy for me because she's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad you did that for yourself. I'm so glad you went and like you seem like you're lighter, you're happier, you got some stuff.
Right.
And I think, you know, those feelings do happen in monogamous relationships. It's just not
If
go.
they do. Like you're right.
But
They
it's not
do,
the same
absolutely.
exact thing. It's not the same
Because
word.
well, compersion, like specifically, it it is specifically referencing romantic
Okay.
relationships.
I got
Like
you.
like being happy for your partner in romantic relationships with other people
Okay.
or
Makes
sexual
sense.
relationships with other people. Yeah, which that is the deviation from monogamy. Like if Kendra went out and said, "Oh my God, Madison, like I
I
met
found
this
a
girl and we
girl.
kissed and it was like amazing and I have butterflies," and she came home and told you that, like your reaction may not be,
That.
"Oh my God, good for you,
Right.
amazing." Like it may not be that. You know what I mean? For like a lot of people that
Totally.
practice monogamy.
I understand.
Yeah.
I get you. But listen, this is what we got to talk about because reality, I could say, hey, I have that. And you're like, no, girl, this is a little different. And I definitely think
Yeah.
I think this is where a lot of people are fascinated by these feelings because a lot of times there's this spectrum and you really don't fall far left or right, honestly. If
Mm-hmm. I
you
agree.
I really don't think anyone's hitting that side either. We're not hitting balls to the walls here, you know, like you are falling in between somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
maybe closer to one wall versus the other. But I think everybody has a curiosity inside to want something else. You see someone else, like you can't tell. People will always tell you, Lindsay, monogamous people in relationships will see someone else that's attractive and say they're hot. A guy will say
Yeah.
that about women. You can't tell me those feelings aren't there. So
Right.
that is why I think people are so curious about this lifestyle. I hate that I'm putting quotes around this lifestyle choice because it's a choice. It's not really a choice. Maybe this is really who you are, like authentically to you. You were born this way to give love to multiple people. I don't know. I don't know truthfully if that would be for me. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we've talked about this. And I think maybe you're like, Madison, I'm with you. I couldn't do that either. I'm not saying I couldn't do it. I don't know if I'm I don't know if I'm mentally there.
Yeah.
I also feel like I don't have enough time. I tell you this. This
Oh
is a
yeah.
valid excuse. I just don't feel like I have fucking enough time to have more than one partner. I'm sorry, but being with Kendra and our relationship is a full-time job and I
Get it.
am fully booked. So no vacancy here. I
I get
definitely,
it.
so I think that I love, and I do really love this for you, that you are able to love multiple people because I don't feel that I have that capacity. I just don't think I
Mm-hmm.
have, maybe at another point in my life, maybe if I freed up some space inside with therapy, but I don't. and not now. And Kendra said it too. Like I couldn't be in that kind of relationship, but those are because we've talked about other feelings, and those feelings are probably there. Jealousy, things, they're definitely there. And I think that's a huge barrier. It's the barrier. I think jealousy is the number one reason why most people that are monogamous will say they could never be in a poly relationship.
But the interesting thing is it's like they're only scared of their own jealousy. Because if they could do what they wanted, and their partner remained monogamous to them, they would, because they can identify like, oh yeah, I could sleep with her or him and then come back and love my partner. Like that wouldn't change anything. But it's so interesting because they can't apply it to their partner, because if their partner went and did the same thing, then suddenly it means something big, and it's not that they just can do this and remain unattached or whatever the case may be.
Correct.
It's always interesting to me.
Right. I mean,
which leads me to think it's a control thing. It has to come back to like control and possessiveness.
Right.
And like wanting what's yours to be yours.
Right. And not sharing.
Yeah. Which I think is actually okay. I think like the spectrum, if there was a spectrum, you have like full total monogamy on one end of the spectrum, and on the other end you have like polyamory, because that's kind of extreme too. And then in the middle that you talk about, I think are like open relationships. And like, what does that look like? It could be like the couple, who knows? It'd be like a couple that goes out and has like a threesome with somebody like once every 2 years. It could be like the couple that goes out and does swinging together every weekend.
It could be the person like, who goes out and they have a casual partner they fuck, but then they come home to their partner.
Yeah, it could even be going to the bar and flirting with other people and having your partner watch. Like, I mean, some people would say like that is not monogamous. So it just
there's
anything in the middle.
Okay, but like maybe this is why I said rules, Lindsay, because in monogamy, I feel there are rules, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're like, no, we don't have rules. Come over. We don't wear underwear. We don't have to do this. I don't wear underwear anyway, but real talk. Like when you're saying think about it. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you are in a relationship monogamous, I don't know anybody else who's polyamorous, Lindsay. Sorry, you're my only friend. I would love if more polyamorous people listen to this podcast. But I definitely think like, if you're in a monogamous relationship, you ask yourself, like, what are the rules within my relationship? Like, are you going out and are you flirting with the guy at a bar if you're a married wife? No, you're not. You're not, because your husband doesn't like it. Right. You have rules. Like, you won't do that. You're not going out until 2:00 in the morning and not checking in with your partner or not doing that, because those are maybe your rules within your relationship. And I don't think this is for
they're agreements. They're agreements. You're 100% like, people are coming to that mutually. It's not just like...
It should be an agreement, but I feel, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if you're listening to this podcast, send me a fucking DM. I sometimes feel like there are like rules in monogamy, and I hate to say it, it's the traditional rules. Like you get married, you don't cheat on your partner. By cheating, that means emotionally, sexually, whatever, because that's monogamy. Those are that is the fucking bubble, girl. There is no poking and prodding that to burst that. That's monogamy, 100%. One person commitment. Like, so the rules are that. Am I wrong? Do you feel that too? Like, maybe that's why I said rules to you, because I don't feel in my relationship with Kendra, I have rules. And I think,
but they're unspoken. They're unspoken rules.
Yes,
this is the dynamic. It exists. Right. It's embedded into the dynamic.
Exactly.
You don't go on dates with other people. Like you are not going to do that. Right. You didn't even need to say that though. Like that's obviously implied, right? Like for most people.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's the unwritten rules.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so interesting now. Like we're reflecting back from earlier, because that is so true. You're right. You don't go on dates with other people.
Yeah. It's embedded into the relationship structure. That's why polyamory is like kind of like hard to conceptualize, because like there is nothing embedded into the relationship structure. You guys just have to sit down, discuss it, and decide.
Yeah. I definitely think though polyamory is more in your feelings. Like you guys really feel your feelings. It's a feeling.
Yeah, it's about feelings.
It's all about that. And I think it's a lot to do, like, I mean, like I told you, I'm watching that I was watching the show and the couple's there. I don't think that all of these people in the couple are super secure human beings. You don't have to be like the most confident, secure person to be polyamorous either. So talking about like insecurities and jealousy, those people in the relationship definitely have some of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're trying to work through them differently and still live their life to love who they want and be who they want.
Yeah. Because I've seen clips. I haven't watched the full episode, but I've seen clips of this couple on couples therapy on TikTok that you're talking about. So I kind of know like what it is you're referencing. Basically, like I think that they just want to like voice their feelings and be heard, but they need to work through them so that everybody can maintain their freedom and that they can like remain in the dynamic, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You exactly nailed it on the head. What do you think are some of the biggest struggles within being polyamorous? Is it like the people that don't get it? Is it within your relationship? Where do you think you struggle the most within being polyamorous?
Me personally, I guess like my answers would be different than like maybe like the general people. I think people generally struggle more with like coming out to family or friends or like finding acceptance in community. Whereas like I'm fortunate enough that I have never been like rejected for my identity. I just kind of let everybody know and like made it a point. Like, if you want to be in my life, you have to accept this fact about me. And if not, like, there's the door because it's like, this is who I am. I can't change it. And I shouldn't
Okay.
have to. And I don't want to.
Well, you said at 17 you knew you were poly. So did you tell your
Yeah.
parents at 17 like that you were this, or was this later?
No, I told them. I told them. Yeah, for sure. I mean, my dad actually is the catalyst, kind of. He put me on a podcast, which I still listen to this day, called the Savage Love Cast with Dan Savage. I'm obsessed. And Dan Savage coined the term monogamish. So, and he's actually currently in a polyamorous relationship. So he talked a lot about that on his podcast, which is like a relationship and dating advice podcast. And so I just kind of grew up like listening to that like every day because there's so many episodes, and I just internalized like, okay, it's okay to be this way. And I think that was like kind of what my dad was trying to do. I think my dad wanted me to be exposed to like different things so I could make choices for myself.
I love that.
And yeah, so I've known from a young age. I told them from an early age. I didn't start like demanding acceptance for it until I started having multiple partners, and I needed those multiple partners to be like welcome in the family home or just acknowledged as, you know, being the same level as my current partner. That's kind of when like I made it clear that like you have to accept this about me or you're just not going to have a place in my life. And I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful family, and so they all do accept it. So I would say that would be like a general problem like a lot of polyamorous people have, just it hasn't been one for me. For me, what I think is the hardest thing, there are two things. The first thing is that it's the other side of the coin, right? I love polyamory because there is so much freedom and you get to make your own relationship and it can look like anything. And then the other side of that coin is that this is so fucking hard and confusing because it can look like anything and I don't know where this is going and I don't know how this is supposed to look and like I don't know what is possible or not possible and or realistic or not realistic. So just trying to like still tease out those things is difficult because I know already what my life looks like with Michelle and like what it looks like with Michelle having Hunter.
Right.
And, you know, Hunter dates other people too, very casually. I know
Does
what
Hunter,
that looks like. And like,
does Hunter have another partner right now?
no.
So it's just
But
him.
Hunter does see people casually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's just romantically, it's just Hunter and Michelle. But like, we're a family. Like, all three of us, like, we call each other the family. Like, we're super close. Like, Hunter and I are besties. Like, I adore him. And so we just always want to do stuff together. So I can like, and we live together. So it makes sense. Like I see the vision for that one. Like, you know, we'll continue living together. And if we don't, we don't. And like, that's fine. Like, I just think we'll always be close. But the problem like comes in like with me dating other people because Michelle is polysaturated with me and Hunter. So that means that she cannot have more partners. Like she feels saturated. Like two is solid for her. And she doesn't really seem to desire like more casual encounters.
So this, if she wanted though, she could have another girlfriend or another boyfriend on top of you and Hunter.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that like, has Michelle had more than two partners at one time?
No.
Okay. Have you ever had more than two partners at one time?
No.
I'm just curious because, like I said, we're talking about capacity and how you just said saturated. That's the word. Like,
Yeah.
so I think that's really ding, ding, ding. Another
Yeah,
poly word that we're
it
going to put
is.
into the vocabulary is saturated. And I think
Polysaturated is what it's
polysaturated.
called. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think that's really interesting because, like, I would wonder how many people in like a poly, like, what would be the most number someone's been with that they feel like they need at some point? Do you fall out of the poly category when you have like so many partners?
It depends on how you define like what level each partner is at, because there's different level of communication and commitment required for different partners,
Got
right?
it. That's true.
Yeah. So like I know people like in the communities that'll say like I'm polysaturated at 5. I can't even I can't even begin to wrap my head around that,
Wow.
because like for me, when I'm committed to somebody, I want it to be very involved and like very integrated, but
Well,
not
when
everybody's like that,
but
you
when you
know.
say like, I think like, okay, 5, I'm like, okay, there's only 7 days in the week. So that means your partner, how much would get like maybe 1.5 days a week?
Well, maybe some of them are long distance, right? Like
That's
maybe some of
true.
them you see every now and then. Maybe some of them already have other partners. Maybe they have a family and like a marriage, and so like they're not even available every week. Like you're only gonna see them like
It's
maybe
so
twice a month.
fascinating. It's just like so every poly relationship is so different. It's like I need to find more poly friends because I just like I love this lifestyle for other people. I'm monogamous saturated right
Yeah,
now.
I
um,
get it. I really do.
because
I really do.
I think it's such a cool dynamic in life. Like you really I guess the only way I really am feeling this is like it's a feelings thing, 5,000% to be okay and with multiple people because you're dealing with the negative feelings too. Do you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So I don't know. We're going off
Do.
topic from the whole thing with the multiple partner thing, but I was just saying, I'm like, wow, it's a lot of feelings all bubbled into one. Where I think versus this relationship versus yours, my like the feelings are more vanilla. They're more basic. They're more.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they are because this is what they're supposed to be like.
Well, you're just not getting constantly triggered. You're not getting like
You're
nothing is
comfortable,
coming up against the right. Nothing is like challenging you in that way because you're already in your dynamic. It's established. It's comfortable,
right?
which like is beautiful and amazing in itself. Like it's great to be comfortable with somebody. And if you don't want to have to do that hard work and you're not being called to, and there's no reason for you to, then why?
Right.
Why?
That's true.
It's not
I mean,
necessary.
if you are happy with where you are, like that's where both you and I, I'm like, if you're happy, then just do it. So I think
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
definitely cool. So, okay, we're going back to the Hunter and Carlos thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Yeah. No, just to like tie it back. So it's like not knowing where things can go. And so like I have my clear direction already with like Hunter and Michelle. But now I'm dating Carlos and like I really like him. I think things are going in like a very good direction. And I think this will become more committed and more involved. But it's like, what does that look like? What can that look like? I think like we are both agree that maybe we don't really want like to like live with other partners, or like we enjoy having our space, and like that's good for me. Like I like that he has his own place, and I think he likes that he has his own place. And obviously we're so far off from even thinking about any of that, but like I'm just giving an example of like what it could look like, but also like the uncertainty, because when you follow like the path of traditional monogamy, it's like very clear. Like you'll date for a while, then you'll become boyfriend and girlfriend, and then maybe you'll move in together. And then after you move in together, maybe you'll get a dog, and then maybe he'll propose. And then if he proposes, you'll get married. And then once you get married, you'll probably have children.
Correct.
And then you'll probably buy a house. And like
Right.
it's just like it's kind of clear, like that path. But like when you're somebody like me that doesn't want marriage, that has multiple partners, that doesn't want children, that wants to just like float around the globe and like just date lots of people, like I'm not sure what does that look like long term. And like I have clarity with Michelle and with Hunter because like they're we're all on the same page. But like when you're dating somebody new, it's kind of feels like a lot to be like, oh yeah, and by the way, like I'm like this, I'm like that, I want this, I want that. And it's like so it's just so non-conventional at every single turn.
But
So yeah, I guess that's like the hardest part for me.
that it seems like the struggle for sure, and it is non-conventional, but why are we not laying out everything that we want to our partners in the very beginning, kind of like what you said? And I hate to say that, but like you should say, I want this, I want that, I want to be in this, I want to do that, I want, because it's your fucking life. And I think
Yeah.
what,
No, I do
like,
lay it out
and
immediately.
I think like you think that's the struggle, but it shouldn't be the fucking struggle, Lindsay. That's what every person should do, whether you are getting into a first time monogamous
Yeah.
relationship, a polyamorous relationship. Like, why are we not laying it out from the very get go what we want in relationships? And I think polyamory, you guys lay the foundation for communication and that truthfully, because polyamory wouldn't work without the communication. I truly don't think it would work. Like you
No,
guys
it wouldn't.
have to talk, you have to share. And it's very much so like a dance in polyamory versus I think it's like you guys are constantly like you have routines and everybody has to be in a good flow with each other. You know, if Michelle isn't in a good flow with Hunter, it's going to kind of flow into your relationship a little bit because feelings, human beings. Yeah, she's happy to be with you, but that's going to affect her mood in some way. Just like if you go out with Carlos and it doesn't, maybe something's not as great that night or something, and then the next night is with Michelle, that could roll over into that. So I think like it's really important to be open and communicate in polyamory. Like that's why it works well for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like obviously people have issues. They're in couples
Mm-hmm.
therapy on that show, right? You guys aren't all
For
like
sure.
fucking flowing down a river on a tube and it's jolly old times, but
No.
there's I definitely think you're running with your heart and that's like to be admired in life. And I think that's why I love and I love polyamory
Yeah.
for people because you guys lead with love.
Yeah, we do. But you also like you just really open yourself up to get your feelings hurt a lot. Because like when you do lay out all of these things, like it does your dating pool, it gets smaller and smaller with like each unconventional thing about you, your list of potential people that are going to fit well into your night, like into your life and that you're going to connect with, it just gets smaller and smaller.
Do you think
So it's
that
kind of not easy.
you think the dating pool is already small to begin with?
I think it's massive.
You
If
think it's
you're like
massive?
more, I think it's massive. If you're like more normal, I really think it's massive. Like it should be very
No.
easy.
I
I
mean
think it is very easy.
like in polyamory, like do you think the dating pool it's I feel like with
Mm.
you make it seem easy. Like you're like, oh, I went on a date, but like oh, I'm going on a date. And I'm like, damn, where the fuck do you find all these people? But then you're like, oh, here and here. And I'm like, oh, there's websites, there's this. So,
Okay.
you know, do you
Do you want to
think,
know the real truth, Madison? Do you
yeah,
want to know why it's? Do you want to know why it's easy? Okay, this is why it's easy.
because you're
That I'm
hot,
polyamorous
you're
and
a
I
hot
can always.
girl,
Well,
you're a hot
that's
girl. That's why it's
probably
easy.
like a factor. That's probably a factor. But the reason that I never have any shortage of like people to date is because I'm in a polyamorous relationship with a woman. It's because I'm in a polyamorous relationship with a feminine presenting woman. And so to men, that doesn't feel like a threat. And I typically, because I have my girlfriend, I will date other women, but like I just typically tend to be dating men. That's just kind of the wave I've been in as of late. But so to men, they will date me, right? Because I have a girlfriend. But as soon as like I express interest in another guy, like they freak out. Like they can't handle it. It's not for them. So it's incredibly frustrating.
But are those guys you're dating like already in like the polyamory pool or like they're regular normal is what you would call them?
They're not in the
Dating?
polyamory pool. They're
Okay.
not in the pool already.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I think
they're yeah,
most men, not most, I shouldn't generalize. A lot of men will be more jealous, in my opinion, with women. Like they are more
they are.
possessive. It's a masculine quality. It tends to be like
Mm-hmm.
that. This is mine. That's my woman. Like I'm more dominating. You know, I definitely think that's more of a masculine quality. So
Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense that a guy would be like, oh, it's cool that like guys like when two girls make out. Guys like
They love
when
it.
two, even if it's not two femme girls, because if it's me and Kendra, I've heard guys make comments. I'm like, ill,
Hmm.
please go away. Like, I definitely think that though, though in the pool, like when I'm like, Lindsay, where did you find this person? Where did you find Carlos? Right? You don't have to tell me, but I'm just saying, I do know. But when we're talking generally, right? And you're like, I'm going on a date with this person, don't you feel that you already kind of like chop off half of the potentials because so many of those people are like, so many of the guys as of late, let's put it that way, are the way that you were saying because they're like the monogamous type, they're not the polyamorous pool. So, yeah, you do have kind of a chopped in half
Yeah.
dating pool, right? Because those guys are
Yeah.
never going to be your next relationship because they'll never
No,
really
no.
understand it. And
Yeah,
they'll
so I
never,
just date them for fun. I just date
yeah,
them for fun. It's
casual.
not for they can't be my partner. Like I can date so many people
But
for
you
fun.
wanted
Like
a partner,
that's
right?
endless.
You're
I do,
dating for a
absolutely.
partner. Like that's what
Yeah, but
Carlos is
that's
becoming.
yeah. Yeah, it's true. No, it's true but that only happened because of his characteristics like are in alignment with mine. And like also, other things like chemistry and whatnot. Like
Correct.
that's all there. But like when I started dating him, like I wasn't looking for a partner. I was looking for a good time. It just so happened that like he checks a lot of my boxes and I feel very fortunate to have found that. But normally, like while I say like I have a really big dating pool, but at the same time it's so fucking small for who I can actually partner with, like in a real way that like I would be interested in partnering with and that could also handle me being like my most authentic version.
Right. Yeah. Definitely
Yeah.
makes sense because I feel like that's probably the hard part. I feel like most people just wouldn't get it,
Mm-mm,
which is shitty.
they
Even
don't.
I don't even mean it in just relationships like with like like love relationships, like sexual, emotional, but like friendships even. Do you ever think that because you're polyamorous, maybe you lost some friends due to that? Or do you
I
think,
suspect. I do suspect. It's never been like direct or anything like that, but I suspect.
yeah,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Sometimes, like, I don't know, people can feel threatened. Like, I just live my life like so open and bold, and sometimes people think that they're a prospect for me, even though they're just my friends because, like, I'm poly and biased, like, I'll date anyone. But,
you would
like,
have tried
even my,
before, no? Like, come on, give me
right,
a break.
even my friends think like I would date them, or like, I had one friend who, like, had a boyfriend, and, like, she, like, made a comment once. She's like, he's mine, like, don't get any ideas. And I'm like, what? Like, why? I would never. Number one, that's your boyfriend. And number two, like, I'm not even attracted to him. Like, why would you think that I would pursue your boyfriend? Like, I'm
Honey,
not like that.
you already know what that's called, insecurity 5,000.
Yeah, it was totally projected onto me. Like, we're not really friends anymore, but it definitely was. It was a
That's
little
sad.
hurtful. Yeah, it was. It was hurtful to be said, even in a joking way. Like, I just feel like I've never given you any indication of that. Like, I would never. So why would you? Why say that? So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say like sometimes you will lose friends too, just by being so open. People can perceive that as a threat.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, Lindsay, because that sucks. Like,
Yeah,
that's not a
it
reason
was
not to
not
be
a good
friends.
feeling.
I don't know why I felt like I needed to ask you that, but I feel like because it's such a vast lifestyle difference than the normal human being. I really
Yeah.
wonder. And I honestly look, I'm not in a normal relationship. I'm in a gay relationship, right? We're lesbians. I hate all those fucking terms. You know me, like
I know the labels.
you know me. We're like, don't fucking
I
put me in
do.
a box. But
I do.
um, like I guess pansexual, right? And
Hmm.
you Kendra was my first girlfriend. You come out and you say like, oh, I didn't really lose anybody per se, but I feel like,
Hmm.
comments were made or people will say things and
Hmm.
I'm like, sometimes I just think people should just shut the fuck up if it doesn't really affect you.
I
And like
agree.
you being polyamorous and you being able to have the capacity to love more than one partner or have space for that or being able to get polysaturated at 5, whatever, I definitely think is, that's your thing. And if it's not, you're not going home with me and my partner. And
Mm-hmm.
Why does it matter? I think real friendships, real relationships, real love for somebody, friendship, partner, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is being happy for them when they're happy.
I think it can trigger something in them though. Like I think it triggers them. Like maybe they're worried that their husband will see like the way that I live their life, and maybe they always have that insecurity. And then maybe it will start conversations between them, and there can be feelings of envy there. Like I really think it can
But
make
then,
couples have a bigger conversation that maybe they don't want to have or
I
not
mean, yeah,
comfortable having.
it does bring conversations because, like, of course, when we come home from coffee, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And she's like, tell me what's going on with Lindsay. She wants to know. Like, she finds
The tea is hot.
it's fascinating to Kendra too. Like, we love you,
Right.
Lindsay, period, right? You know,
Yeah.
we bump into you in the gym parking lot and shit, and like, we just love you. But
I love that.
I think it's so I just think it's so interesting. It does bring up conversations, and you're right. Me and Kendra have had conversations when we come home from coffee, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not hard conversations for me or Kendra because I feel like this is what I'm not really interested in another partner. That's the truth. Like, I am completely happy with
Right.
Kendra. Do I see other people out and think like they're attractive? I've been sure you're good looking, but
Yeah.
I truthfully don't have feelings of I would love to be with somebody else. And I've
Right.
never had those feelings. And I think not since I've been with Kendra, and it's kind of crazy to think, but I don't have those. I haven't, maybe even you could push it and say, well, maybe you haven't allowed yourself the space to do that with somebody else. But that's because I'm okay in my space. But
Right.
we have had conversations, and that's when we've talked about jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
insecurities, and not wanting to share. And
Yeah.
it's like she's not a good sharer. She'll say it. I'm not sharing. But I don't feel like she holds me bound to rules or things. And I think these are good, really interesting conversations to talk to your partner about. And I hate that you're like, people don't want to talk about it with their partners. It brings up this, it brings up
They
that. It's like,
don't.
you have to talk to your partner and you have to be open, polyamorous, not like you have to communicate with your partner because your life isn't going to be lived fully and authentically if you're not sharing that. Do you know
Yeah,
what
but
I'm saying?
not everybody is ready for that.
Well,
Like
we
I
know
have
that.
had
We know that.
like I know. Like one of my brothers had a girlfriend once, temporary, but had a girlfriend, and she met me. We met and we were talking, and she learned I'm polyamorous and had got all these things going on, and she was like totally in awe, like in awe. Like this would be like her ideal situation. She didn't know people could live this way. She didn't know this was possible.
Wait, like she would love to do that.
Yeah, like she would love to be polyamorous. And like I know my brother, and like all of my siblings are like for monogamy, like for monogamy. And I'm like, oops, like, ooh, like, I'm sharing about my life, and now she's like thinking this is like the greatest thing. Like she's never seen this in practice, as a lot of people haven't. I mean, didn't know this could be like a possible dynamic, but at the same time, like this is my brother, and like just by me being authentic, like somebody is now resonating like with me sharing, and it's like turned into this like beautiful thing. However, like this is my brother's girlfriend, and like they are in a monogamous relationship.
It kind of just makes
And
things
then
rocky. It's making it rocky in their relationship, but it's not really your fault. Like, I think it's like you have
I'm the
to,
catalyst, I'm the
yes,
catalyst.
exactly.
So they'll
That's the
look at me
word.
and be like, Lindsay, like, stop, just stop. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how to be anything other than me. And like, I'm sorry that like that resonated in a line. They ended up breaking up, and she
It's,
like did go off and be polyamorous. But
that's what she needed. Like, could
yeah,
you imagine, Lindsay, if that girl stayed with your brother and she's not polyamorous and she never fulfilled that, and 10
yeah,
years into their marriage and she's miserable, making her brother
right.
miserable, and
No,
then
it would be horrible.
she does something really shitty and ends up cheating on him and then ruins his
Right.
fucking life, and he
No,
has
it would be
trauma.
awful.
So sometimes I'm like, you know what, girl, people need that catalyst. We need people to fucking push them off
Yeah.
the cliff and let their parachute open. You need
Right.
sorry for your brother, but that wasn't enough for him. Okay.
No, I know. In the end, they broke up for like a multitude of reasons. That was probably one of them. But he's my brother. We love each other. There was no bad blood. Like he wasn't mad at me. But like if you take that same situation and you apply it to like a friend, somebody
Yeah.
that's not my sibling,
Yeah.
oh my God, that friend would be like livid with me, like livid. Like they would never forgive me. I feel like they would view me as like the reason that like their whole partner changed everything and left. So
But
like
you're not the
it can be
reason.
a barrier.
Yeah, they can
I know
view
that.
you as the
I know that
reason,
because I'm the
but
catalyst. It would be the catalyst. Like it would be
I just,
so.
I'm a queen of reality. Like that's, I say like the sprinkle of reality. Like I'm sorry.
Yes.
I am sorry. I am sorry that that would happen. But like, if I happen to be the catalyst that fucking projected somebody's life in a whole different direction, it might not be good for one of the partners, but for somebody else, that's what they needed. And I hate to say it, but that's a life. And we have to, the authentic living is so hard. And it's
Yeah.
like, I clap for you hardcore all the time, Lindsay, because like, I know you're always telling me that you admire me and like, I
I
inspire you,
do.
but
You do.
it's vice versa because you live your life so you, and you really do things your way, including like, this isn't even on the polyamory thing, but you recently quit your job and went into
Mm-hmm.
like per diem, and you're focused on
Mm-hmm.
building a brand, and you're focused on building your
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and sharing about polyamory and helping other people. Maybe be the catalyst, girl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that is really admirable. That's, you think it's me, but I see you and you're doing it too. And you get out and you share your TikToks, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really hard. You do
I
a
think
lot.
that's why we're friends. I think that
Yeah,
we resonate. Like I know that you mentioned already in the beginning of the podcast, like a little how we met, but like we didn't really start being friends until recently. But we didn't really start being friends until you launched your podcast, and I started listening to your podcast, and I was
true.
like, oh my God, this I have so much in common with this girl. Like she's saying all the things I'm thinking. Like she's living a lifestyle that's really congruent with how I want to live, how I do live, like what my values are. So then I reached out to you and I was like, I want to be friends. Like, can we get
Yeah,
coffee?
you're right. And that's true, Lindsay. You're right. But you know something? I think like I never felt like we weren't friends, which is weird to say because
Sure.
I feel like we had little snippets of chat in
We
class.
chatted a lot. Or after we chatted for an hour, like at
Yeah.
times. Like we would just
Yeah.
talk.
And I definitely think we're very much so aligned in a lot of our values and like ethics for life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I definitely think like that's why I invited you on the podcast, but I definitely think this is a really fun topic because a lot of people don't know about it. I'm going to share your TikTok handle in my show notes because
Okay.
I want people to find you there. But what else do you think is like, what else do you think is really important in the polyamory world that people don't know?
Okay. There are two things that I would really like to get across that I think are important. The first one is that polyamory is not cheating. A lot of people will say like that polyamory is congruent with being a cheater, and it's not. What makes cheating isn't the act of non-monogamy itself. It's the lying component, it's the deceit, right? It's going against predetermined boundaries, predetermined rules or agreements. That is what makes the act so transgressive. In polyamory, you're not cheating. You are agreeing, right? You have two consenting adults that are agreeing to this lifestyle and totally okay, and it's above board. So I think I want to impress upon you the difference between being polyamorous and being a cheater, because I'm polyamorous, but I have never cheated on a partner. Everything I have ever done in my life I have obtained consent before doing it. And it's always above board. So that is something that I think people need to know.
Interesting. I never even thought
Yeah,
about it like that because maybe that's me, but do you think maybe on TikTok a lot of people write that? Is that why you brought that
they
in?
do.
They do.
Yeah, they do. No, I know
And
that. Yeah, that's like
do you think a lot of them are religious people? Like, do you ever click these
I don't
accounts
know.
and ask and to see what these people are that are writing? Like, where are they from? Because
I
I'm curious. I think that there's a lot of like Bible belters and Bible thumpers that are the people that say that to you probably on there.
maybe, but I don't think the algorithm shows them me to them. I
No?
don't, and I don't think my message is like for them. I can't really speak to religion. I'm not a religious person.
You're
I
probably right
don't.
about the algorithm. That's true.
Yeah, yeah, because they're not interested in like probably my content. Or
Very
if they
interesting.
are, or if they are, then there's a reason that I'm getting shown to them. Like they clearly there's something there, and I can speak to them on something.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
So then the second thing I want you to know is that you can be polyamorous and committed. Polyamory is not just something for people that are afraid of commitment, which is like a very common trope. People think you want to be polyamorous because you're shying away from commitment. And like, while that can be the case for some people, this is not the case for the whole of the community. It's actually the opposite. We are polyamorous because like we're addicted to commitment. Like we love commitment. We want so many of them. Like just like logically, like clearly we like commitment. Like we like love. We want to be committed. So I feel like I want to dispel the narrative that being polyamorous means that you're afraid of commitment, because it couldn't be further from the truth. I'm extremely committed to my partner, like extremely, my life partner. I love her so much. And then like also I'm dating Carlos, and like I already feel like a sense of commitment to him, and that can go further and further and further. So I just want to dispel the myth that like polyamory is synonymous with like being avoidant, because it's not.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really interesting that you're using that. Like, I don't know, Lindsay, you're so many little like poof, poof, poof to me, because like I never even looked at your relationship. I feel like, I guess I'm so fucking different. I am not the norm. Listening to this, like, but I know how committed you are to Michelle, and I know how much you want to be committed to somebody else. And you've been saying that to me since like at least December, right? Really, December. I feel like that's when I remember you telling me you just wanted another partner to be committed with. And
yeah,
you know, that's really, I think that might be the number one thing that people don't understand about polyamory, is that you can be committed and have multiple partners. And it's not like, I guess, even in my mind, which is wild, because I feel like I have a broader understanding. We talk about it, but I watch shows on it. I Google, I do shit. You know, I like research. Mm-hmm. I always sometimes had like this little thought in my mind that like there's always free floaters in polyamory. Like you don't just have your committed partners per se, that there's also free floaters that you casually date, like Hunter. And I guess like how Hunter has his casual people and Michelle, my mind was you always had that, and then maybe another partner and then some floaters. So it's like,
I understand.
Yeah, that was my idea of just polyamory. So it's like there's so many different versions and dynamics. So it's like interesting, like commitments, like 5, 2, you just want to be with someone and be committed to them. It doesn't have to be even just a casual person. You know, it's
I do. No, I do. And I hear your dynamic.
Yeah, that's so like, I don't know, maybe now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, because sometimes I want to put fucking things in a box too. I want to be like, oh, this is what polyamory is, but polyamory has so many spider webs to it.
I know.
So
it's a lot. So you just have to find what it is for you. Like what do you want it to look like? So like, while I would love another commitment, and like I would love another, like a boyfriend in addition to my girlfriend, like I still want to go out and have like casual fun every now and then. It wouldn't be something like regular for me, because I feel truly polysaturated with 2 partners. But like, who's to say like I don't go out for a girls' night and meet somebody cute at the bar and like want to like explore that? And I do, or I do stuff with my partner. Like it can be anything. So like my ideal would probably be a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and then like I do stuff with them sometimes, like with other people, or by myself, like I just have freedom. And then you also have to think about like, how do you define commitment? Because commitment doesn't necessarily mean like marriage, kids, like house. Like it doesn't have to look like that. Like for me, commitment is like being dedicated, like loving your partner, like integrating them into your life, like showing up for them when they really need you. Like they're having a bad day, like maybe like bringing them some food to their house, or like you can't, like you order from me, you're committed like to them, like you're emotionally going deeper, you're bonding, you're meeting their family, you're meeting their friends, like vice versa. Like
you're investing in them.
So many different things. Yes, it's investment. It really is investment, but it doesn't have to look like marriage and kids.
Correct.
It doesn't have to look like moving in together. You know, you don't have to get on the relationship escalator. The relationship doesn't have to escalate vertically. That's like a term, I guess, also a poly term. It's like the relationship escalator is like what monogamous people do. It's like, it's like the whole trope. Like you date, you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and then you're engaged, and then you get married, and you have babies, and you're increasing, right? You're increasing in your commitments. But like, it doesn't have to be a vertical thing in polyamory. Like commitment can look like this. It can just be on a horizontal line. It can be like I said, like showing up for your partner, like if they're sick, like if you need to run errands for them, like bringing their dog to their parents' house because they don't have time to do it. It's like showing up like in different ways that aren't necessarily like on that trajectory of relationship escalator.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, even in monogamous relationships, we're not all riding that elevator either, girl, because this girl doesn't really care for marriage or kids or like, so I think sometimes it is okay. There are relationships like that, but that's a great point, Lindsay, with polyamory, because even in your relationships, people will expect like, when are you going to be married to Michelle? Or what happens if you decide to marry Michelle? And
they can't, like their heads explode. They can't even conceptualize like what I'm going to do.
It's crazy, and like we could go on a whole nother part 2 about this for sure. So I definitely think like there's a lot of things to it, and it's been a fun conversation, and I love having you on my podcast, Lindsay.
Thank you.
You want to leave them with anything else? Do you feel like you have anything else you need to share?
Oh yeah, like I guess a closing note would be like, interrogate your desires. If you're monogamous, like that is totally valid and cool. Like I love that for you. I do believe there are monogamous people. I do have, however, oftentimes more than not think that people don't ever question it. They just kind of fall into it. So I would urge you to question it, especially if cheating is a pattern for you or your partner or has been. I would absolutely urge you to maybe think in terms of more like polyamory so that you can do everything like ethically above board. And just know that you have a choice. Like this lifestyle is possible, can be possible for you. It can be accessible for you, and you can be extremely happy and fulfilled in this lifestyle. It doesn't mean you have to forego the things you want. You can do marriage, you can have kids, and you can build this like beautiful spiderweb like community of people that love you and that you love, and it can be like a beautiful village situation. So yeah, I would just want people to know and like take away that like there's always a choice. You can try this out. If you don't like it, you go back, or maybe you like love it and you are happy and fulfilled. But yeah, you can find fulfillment and happiness in this lifestyle.
I love that. That was a good closing note, Lindsay.
Thanks, Madison.
And then I guess we're going to leave them with my last little thing and let's tell them that you're without a doubt a badass. Don't you forget it. So we will see you next week. And maybe Lindsay will be back for another part 2. If you have questions, send them to me on Instagram, send them to me on YouTube, which nobody sends me anything. Or you can even on Spotify now send me a text message, which is really cool. And you just tap send me a text message, and you can let me know what you think about the show. Or you can tell me that you want Lindsay back to hear more about her polyamory and lifestyle. So thanks for being here, Lindsay. Love you so much. I really do.
Thank you, Madison. I love you too.
Bye.
Ciao.